Good morning, everyone. It is Wednesday, February 4th, and we've got a lot of fun stuff to talk about today. But I see in the chat, because I've actually just been sitting here reading all the comments already, a lot of folks trying to get me to move up north. And I got to tell you, if you're going to try to convince me to move north, this might not be the best time of year to do that. Yes, we just had obviously that cold front down here in Florida. However, it did get up to about 68 degrees yesterday. We've got 70s coming up in just a few days. Kind of difficult to get me out of here this time of year. I do appreciate it, though, all of the kind words going through. I can see the mods are already hard at work having to get rid of some spammers. So that's unfortunate that you have to do that, but I am truly appreciative of all of you that are acting as our mods and taking care of that for us. So thank you all so much. Also, got a lot of international folks all over the chat. Somebody says move to Australia. I'd love to go there, but I have a pretty gigantic fear of certain 8-legged creatures. So, I mean, depending on the size, obviously, couldn't survive the huntsmans though. That couldn't do it. Sorry, can't. They terrify me. The huntsmen. I know the huntsmans are not, a threat to people in any way, but spider the size of a small basketball, that's going to freak me out no matter what. So yeah, that's that. Although I will say that my dislike of spiders has certainly lessened over the years. My old house, we would get the giant wolf spiders that would get massive and they would get into the house. And the more I saw them, the more I had to deal with them. It started freaking me out less and less. But again, even the biggest wolf spider can't compete with the huntsman. So yeah, I'm getting better to the point where I can actually pick some spiders up now, which is great. But I'm not huntsman level yet. All right, so we've already gotten way off topic already, talking about spiders and moving and snow and all kinds of fun stuff. But that's what we do here. Let's jump right in. Obviously, that's what you guys are here for. You want to hear about the insanity happening on a daily basis here in the United States. So let's start with this. Donald Trump has never had a firm grasp on reality. But what we have seen from him in this last year, probably even before that, but it's gotten so much worse this past year, is that this man is completely and totally delusional. And he gave us another example this week when he got on Truth Social and boasted about having, quote, the highest poll numbers that he's ever had. That's what he said. I have the highest poll numbers I have ever had. And he also said, obviously, people like a strong and powerful country with the best economy ever. So the highest poll numbers he's ever had and the best economy ever. And keep in mind, he's saying that to people that are struggling to afford groceries, who for decades at this point have not been able to afford their medications, people who can't buy houses, people staying in jobs that they hate because the market is so horrible. Like, this is not a good economy by any measure. It's not the worst, right? We're not in Great Depression levels, but we are in Great Recession levels in terms of layoffs, in terms of inflation, in terms of, wage growth. All of the bad indicators are through the roof. All of the good things are in the toilet. But this is the type of delusion that I am talking about, especially on the poll number thing, just because more poll numbers came out yesterday. And in these latest polls, this is a Harvard Harris poll, he's gone down in every issue. His approval rating on every issue went down On the same day, he says, I have my highest approval ratings ever. And he was already at an all-time low on every issue: economy, immigration, foreign policy, trade, doesn't matter. He was already at all-time lows. Then he sinks lower in every single category. And this delusional, demented old fool gets on Truth Social and says, things are better than ever for me. Everybody loves me. I'm so great and wonderful. Isn't this awesome? That's delusional. If your boss walked in, or if you own a business and you're the guy that walks in, and your company just lost all your money, and you're on the verge of bankruptcy, and if you walked in and told your employees, guys, things are better than ever. I'm such a great boss. I have run this company so well. Your employees are going to walk out. Some of them may even call mental health services. Hey, there's something wrong with this guy. We think that all the bad news broke him completely and he needs help. But we can't exactly do that with the president of the United States, right? We can't walk out. We can't call mental health services. I'm sure some people have probably tried to do that, maybe try to have him Baker acted, but he's the president, so we're kind of stuck. But I think what finally broke him was it's not just that he's losing ground in every single issue, in every single poll, including right-leaning polls. It's that the Harvard-Harris poll had the worst news that Donald Trump has ever gotten in his life. And that is a majority of voters now say that Donald Trump was a worse president than Joe Biden. Worse than Biden. That news, that information, knowing that most of the public says you're worse than that guy you hate with a passion, I think that just finally flipped the switch and Trump's brain is like, all right, I'm done. I'm fried. I can't handle this. You're on your own, buddy. And he snapped. So he goes into these self-soothing mechanisms of going on Truth Social, lying his ass off, saying, I'm more popular than ever. You're the least popular president since Richard Nixon after Watergate. And even then, it's only like 1 or 2 points different in the disapproval rating. And at this point, honestly, you may actually be even worse than that. But for most people alive in the United States today, myself included, Donald Trump is the least popular president we have ever lived under. Ever. And that's saying something because most of us also lived under George W. Bush, who at the time was also historically unpopular, never hit Nixon levels, but for that generation, yeah, he was awful. So Trump is broken. So what do we do when the president of the United States is suffering from these delusions? Well, first of all, we got to figure out where the delusions are coming from. Are they coming from him truly no longer having any grasp on reality? Because if that is the case, then yes, we are all in grave danger. Is it coming from him trying to convince his base that literally every pollster in the United States, including the right-wing ones, are liars? Maybe. He's done that before. But I also genuinely think he doesn't believe those polls. He does believe there is some kind of grand conspiracy taking place among all these disconnected rival pollsters to make him look bad. But for what purpose? If you're going to launch a crazy delusional conspiracy theory, there has to be a reason behind it. Okay, even the conspiracy that we faked the moon landing. Well, the reason we faked it, is because we were trying to beat the Russians to the moon. So we had a reason to fake it. Trump is not up for re-election. This is not an election year for the president of the United States, regardless, even if he were. So what benefit would any of these pollsters have to faking the data? And the answer, of course, is none. It doesn't make them money. It doesn't lose them money. It's just, here's some numbers. We're going to go and start counting more numbers now. That's what pollsters do. There's nothing in it for them to lie. That's why I am leaning towards, yeah, this man is too delusional to even function. And unfortunately, he's still the president of the United States. Now, a ton of super chats came through. Let me scroll all the way back up to the top here. First of all, Marcus Lindner sent 5 gift memberships. Thank you so much for that. We appreciate it. A lot of people still talking about spiders in the chat. If you're just joining us, you missed the whole spider talk at the beginning. Thomas Daniel says, I'm watching Farron deliver the news and I cooked my steak wrong from being distracted. Now it's a mistake. I enjoy a good pun, and I'm also very sorry about your steak. That's unfortunate. Another super chat says, and yet Americans will continue to vote for him. Well, hopefully not, because he can't run again legally. So they're going to continue supporting him. Sure. Hopefully they don't ever have the chance to vote for him again. V-Man says a pine cone would have a better approval rating. Yes. Anything. Honestly, at this point, I think a bag of dog droppings might have a higher approval rating. It's so hilariously bad. And again, less popular than Biden. Vast majority, 63% of the public blames Trump for the economy, not Biden. So that number continues to go up. And he's losing ground on every single issue. We have not seen this happen in an administration in just one short year. And I don't mean in my lifetime, in your lifetime. I mean, we've never seen this. We have never seen someone lose this much support in just one year, their first year. It's crazy. And it's driven him crazy. And he can no longer function as a human being because of how insane he's gone over it. Roman numeral 4 says, even Herbert Hoover looks at Trump from the grave and thinks, wow, this guy's really tone deaf. Love it. Thank you very much. Chantal loves K9. I think that's how you say it. Appreciate that. He's not losing enough support, says Morbid Morvik. I agree. He should be losing more. Like the fact that anybody outside of the millionaires and billionaires who are making a lot of money, right? So let's pretend they don't exist. It's a great way to go through life too. How can anybody look around and see this and be like, yeah, this is great. I love having to cut back on the amount of groceries I can buy. I absolutely love that all these other people out there are losing their rights. Oh, see, that's where it is, right? I firmly believe at this point, anyone that still supports this man is doing it for the racism and the bigotry. That's it. That is the only thing he has actually delivered on for those close-minded rednecks that still support him. It's the bigotry. So if you still support Donald Trump, if you say, I like what he's doing, it's only because of the bigotry. A couple more super chats, then I'm going to move on. Got, so many other stories to talk about today. Do you think it's fair to blame non-voters for Trump winning? To a degree, yeah. The people who simply said, I'm not going to vote, not the people who were unable to vote for one reason or another. So that's why I say to a degree, yes, because you have to differentiate. All those people that were out there like, well, there's no difference between the Democrats and the Republicans. Yeah. You're too dumb to understand what's happening. You're not paying actual close enough attention. You hyper focus on one or two issues instead of looking at the bigger picture. And that's always going to get you into trouble. Those people, absolutely. But the people who, were unable to vote one way or another, I couldn't get off work, I'd have lost my job. I'm not going to hold it against those folks. Paula Trigg says, love to hear daily fair and fun facts. Congrats on the focus. I did that too this year and lost 60 pounds. Also moved from Colorado to Florida to escape the cold. Thank you very much. And also congratulations. It is that is not an easy thing to do. And again, I know I've done it, still doing it, still working on it, and hopefully, continue. I'm just a couple pounds away from like my target weight. So even if I, stopped losing weight right now, I'd still be like, you know what? I'm very happy. I'm very comfortable. I've gone from, XL or double XL all the way down to mediums. So I'm actually wearing a pair of my old, very large pants today because I didn't feel like getting any of my new pants, messed up. So if I stand up, my pants are going to fall down, but it's a good feeling and I'm happy for myself. And I'm very happy for you too, for, doing the same thing. V-Man says, I want to say this because people misinterpreted Bad Bunny's Grammy speech when he said, "We are Americans." He meant the continents, not the country. Well, thank you for that. I didn't see his Grammy speech. I didn't watch any of it. Didn't even know it was happening, honestly, until I saw it show up when I turned the TV on. And it was on whatever streaming device. And I was like, yeah, I'm already stuck in a music genre and era. So I know that the pop punk I listened to in the early 2000s and mid 2000s, they're not going to win Grammys for albums that are, 15, 20 years old. So, I don't care. I don't watch the Oscars or the Emmys or any of that stuff either. I don't care. I don't watch a ton of TV anyway, so I wouldn't know what most of this stuff is. All right. Let's move on because we do have some serious stuff to talk about. Over the weekend in South Portland, ICE agents once again tear gassed children. So what happened was in South Portland, you have this ICE facility, and it is one of the most notorious ICE facilities for deploying tear gas. This is the facility, I don't know if you remember, but I talked about it a couple months ago. They had deployed so much tear gas that a school about 2 blocks away had to permanently close down. So on Saturday, a couple thousand protesters showed up outside of this ICE facility to demand these agents get the hell out of Portland, which is great. Then the agents, not liking people being there, decided we want everybody to leave. Let's start shooting the tear gas. There were people with babies in strollers in that crowd. And these masochistic a-holes didn't care. We didn't care that there were toddlers. We didn't care that there were elementary school kids out there. All we knew is we didn't want those people near us, not violating the law. So they started tear gassing them. And then what they also started doing to some individuals, as the gas was there and ICE had their gas mask, the crowd obviously did not. They went out, started grabbing certain people, pulled them into the ICE facility, handcuffed them, took their pictures, held them for a little bit, maybe 30, 45 minutes, took the handcuffs off and let them go with no charges. Gee, I wonder why they're taking photographs of people, getting their personal information as well, and then just letting them go. No charges at all. It's almost like they're trying to create some kind of database, maybe not for themselves, but maybe for Kristi Noem to list all of these individuals as domestic terrorists, and then later at some point come in the dead of night, steal them from their homes and disappear them forever. I don't know. But that sounds like the most plausible explanation as to why you're going to pick people out of a tear-gassed crowd, take their photo and their information, and then send them on their way. What is happening right now with these ICE agents, with Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, everything, is truly disturbing. We're poisoning our own country, literally, with this gas. People are dying. Nine have been killed by ICE agents, not to mention the dozens that have died inside of the ICE facilities. Portland Mayor Keith Wilson. Here is what he said about these agents tear gassing the crowd and, of course, the children on Saturday. Keith Wilson said, quote, and I love this, to those who continue to make these sickening decisions, go home, look in a mirror, and ask yourselves why you have gassed children. Ask yourselves why you continue to work for an agency responsible for murders on American streets. And the reason I love that so much is because that is a point that I have brought up too many times to count. You know, we hear this administration come out and tell us, oh, well, these are mothers and fathers and sons and daughters that are ICE agents, and you guys are being so darn mean to them. But at the same time, these are mothers and fathers and sons and daughters. They got to go home and see their spouses. They got to go home and see their kids. Daddy, how was work today? It was great. You probably saw me on the news shooting that guy in the back. What a fun day at work. Or having to explain to your parents, hey, how was work today, kiddo? Well, I don't know if you saw the lady in her car, but I was that guy. I gassed a bunch of children today. Oh, I dragged a woman out of her car after ramming her, damn near killing her. Oh, I used a 5-year-old as bait so that I could get their parents. These are things that these people are doing. Every single one of those is an actual documented instance. I don't know the conversation with their spouses, kids, or parents, obviously, but those are things that these people do. And this administration wants us to stop being so gosh darn mean to them. Don't call them the Gestapo. Don't call them Nazis. Okay, don't act like Nazis. It's that easy. You know how many times in my life I've been accused of being a Nazi? Big old zero. Do you know why? Because I've never acted like a Nazi. It's not something I have to worry about. And if somebody did accuse me of being one, it wouldn't hurt my feelings. I would be very confused as to why they would say that in the first place. But if somebody's calling you a Nazi and it hurts your feelings, it's not because of what they said, it's because of what they made you realize about yourself. Now, tons of chats came through. Here's one. It says, to pants not falling down. Well, thank you. Yeah, I'm hoping that doesn't happen. Rocky Rockenbach says, I've lost over 200 pounds, but I have to for back surgery. I need fusion. Hopefully I can have surgery later this year. Just a little more to go. Congrats on that. Not necessarily congrats on needing back surgery. Congrats on losing the weight. And in fact, by the way, my back is one of the reasons I really needed to start losing weight as well. Found out about a year ago, after having just tremendous back pain to the point of being nearly incapacitated for weeks. Finally got an MRI and revealed I have degenerative disc disease in 2 vertebrae. So nothing too major. The doctor's like, yeah, it's not the worst. You know, you don't need anything, but you can do these certain things that's going to help alleviate the pain. Losing the weight was a big one of those. So yeah, I totally get that. Best of luck to you with that. The Dark One says, you think just because you're not doing it yourself, you're not part of it, from the Swing Kids. I like that. Scott Carden says, it's a narcissist looking in the mirror and finding out they don't like what they see. And I hope it happens. I hope these people do have to take a good, long, hard look at themselves and realize what they're doing. They probably won't. They seem to be enjoying every second of it for now. But that'll end soon. Is U.S. at risk of becoming a left-wing dictator after Trump? Oh boy, I hope so. Let's see it. Let's bring in that left-wing dictator. Let's get the crazy, universal health care and debt-free college. That'll show those Republicans. That would be great. I would love it. But no, I don't think so. Honestly, unfortunately, we're probably going to have more of a corporate type Democrat. We're just going to keep everything shifting to the right. Even when we go to the left, it's going to be what would be considered the right 20 years ago. So no, I don't think we're going to get the good left-wing dictator that honestly we probably need for a couple years. Happy ICE is going to start wearing body cams, but want to know if they will be required to have them turned on and save the recordings, says Neat Noodle. That's a good point, because I'm sure this administration could find a loophole and say, listen, we just said they'd be wearing them. We didn't say they were going to be turned on. We didn't say they were going to have the SD cards in them to save the footage. What, are you crazy? We just thought they looked cool. I could totally see them doing that, by the way. Marcus Lindner says, don't call them Gestapo. The Gestapo works in secret. Call them, Sturmarbetling. ICE are more like the brown shirts as like the Gestapo. All right, brown shirts I can go with. I can't pronounce that other word. I am sorry. Skady Music, Ska Die Music says, my concern is that the family of those ICE agents may tend to celebrate their murderous behavior. Someone who loves those people is likely the same. Maybe not. I mean, obviously you want to support your kids, but at the same time, you also discipline them. And if we're going the other route, I think a kid talking to their parent may be realizing that, hey, wait a minute, I've got to set a better example. I don't know. That takes a lot of self-reflection that I don't think these people are capable of. So I don't know that these people are going to truly see the error of their ways. They would if they could be held legally accountable for this, but until we hit that point, we're going to see even worse behavior from these people. And speaking of worse behavior, that brings me to another story here. The Department of Homeland Security is now spending hundreds of millions of dollars on 23 different concentration camp warehouses for the migrants that they're rounding up across the country. 23 massive warehouses that will each hold thousands and thousands of beds at a cost of hundreds of millions of dollars. We are already at $200 million spent buying up these old warehouses. I don't know if anybody drives along the interstates every now and then. You'll see like an Amazon type warehouse. It's going to be those. Maybe not Amazon's facilities, but identical, similar, whatever. And they will be filled with thousands and thousands of people that Donald Trump's brown shirt ICE agents have rounded up off our streets. These are camps. There's no other way to slice that. We have an administration that is starving the American public, cutting off vital projects for disaster mitigation, for clean water, for all sorts of things that we need, spending that money to create prison camps for people that they swear are destroying our country. The destruction of our country is coming from the federal government. They're using immigrants as scapegoats. I want everybody to fully understand that. Yes, our country is being destroyed, but it's not being done by the people who illegally hopped the border to come over here and work a menial job. Those are the people we should be celebrating because they're helping our economy. They're helping our country. They're helping small businesses. That's more than anyone can say about anyone in this administration. But now we're going to round them up and put them in the camps. We've got an 8,500 bed facility that was just purchased in El Paso, Texas. They're building the camps. You know, during the election, there was a lot of talk, a lot of hyperbole on the left. Like, if Trump wins, he's going to put us all in concentration camps. I mean, it came from a few, I think, leftist commentators. It came a lot from the audience of leftist media. There's people sounding the alarm bells, sounding like lunatics, telling us Trump was going to round us up and put us in camps. We didn't even have camps. That's ridiculous. I want to go ahead and apologize to every single person who said those things. You were right. And those of us, and I myself included, who said, you guys are taking it a little too extreme, you sound kind of crazy, stop saying that, we were dead wrong. Dead wrong. Because they're building the camps now. And some of you may be thinking, well, Farron, it's for migrants, right? We got nothing to worry about. Do you? Has it only just been the migrants this whole time? Right? We haven't seen any U.S. citizens rounded up. We haven't seen journalists rounded up. Nothing. No. Yeah, we have. We have seen all sorts of people. We have seen people that have lived in the United States for decades, born here, raised here, nothing but American. And they've been rounded up too. When they run out of migrants, or when they can't find enough, they spent all the money on those facilities. They're not going to let them sit there and go to waste. They're going to use them. They're going to find another group of people to start packing in. And when they run out of that group, they'll move on to the next one. First they came, right? We're living through that poem today. Let me get some super chats here. I don't know if you covered this already, but I saw a report that a petrol station refused to service ICE agents. ICE is claiming illegal discrimination. I have not seen that. I will look into that. V-Man says, to the minorities working in ICE, I have this quote from Afro-Puerto Rican Pedro Albizu Campos. He who is not proud of his origin will never be worth anything because he begins by despising himself. And I will say, I don't know if it's weird or if it's normal, but yeah, like a lot of these videos that we see of these ICE agents are Hispanic. Like, what the hell are you doing? I mean, that I don't know. It drives me crazy to see that. It's like if you weren't wearing that uniform, and maybe this is why you're wearing that uniform, you'd be on the receiving end of that, regardless of whether or not you've lived here your entire life. They want to lock you up, not because of where you're from, but because of how you look and how you sound. That's what it is. This is racial profiling. These folks aren't out there just getting warrants for every single person. They're stopping people in the streets and saying, where are you from? I don't know if you've seen the video of the woman like in a grocery store parking lot, walking to the store. Bunch of agents like ran up and like, where were you born? Where are you born? Because everybody has cameras, thank God. So all of this gets on video and put on social media. They're just racially profiling people. And maybe that's why so many Hispanics have joined ICE. Like, hey, if I'm in this uniform, they're not going to racially profile me, right? Just wait. Just wait. I promise you. It's not going to end well for you either. Would you consider making or allowing us mods to create a Discord for you? That is something that me and my YouTube manager have discussed. We haven't gotten out of, I guess, necessarily the general discussion part of it, but yeah, I mean, we do. We will likely create one. So I appreciate the offer, absolutely. But we are going to be handling that. And hopefully this stream, as we continue doing it, we're going to start sending it out through other avenues as well. Discord, perhaps even Facebook. Definitely not going to do it on TikTok. Not on TikTok, by the way. So please, if you're on TikTok, get the hell off of there. One more super chat from V-Man, then I'm going to move on from this topic, folks. Says it's a byproduct of the old Spanish caste system from the colonial era. Conservative Latinos think they are white Spaniards, not mixed. Very interesting point there. Here's a weird comment. Twitch, yeah, that's the other one I was thinking. A weird comment says anybody who shits their pants has a serious problem. Yeah. Are you? I hope you're talking about Trump and not something that maybe I missed in the comments. But that kind of caught my eye a little bit because I was like, "What? did somebody have an accident during the show here?" I didn't. I can assure you of that. I don't. I don't know. I've missed some context on that, so I'm hopefully hoping, I guess, you're talking about Trump just clearly appearing to crap his pants constantly. Says he shat in public recently. Hey, good use of the word shat. I like that. That is a word that does not get used enough. But yeah, I saw that video. And I don't know if it's AI. I don't know if it's been altered or whatever, but there have been a lot of times recently where the people around Trump are just kind of like, something happens a lot. But a couple more super chats. And again, then I got to move on. I got so many more stories to cover. This one says, unless ICE is stopped otherwise, it's very likely they will eat themselves and get replaced by something worse. Same happened in 1930s Germany. Another says, all the minority ICE agents should read about Ernst Rumboff, leader of the SA during the Nazi rise to power. They wouldn't be safe. Yeah. Let me just also point out real quick, I am horrible at pronouncing names. If I see something, I'm going to say it phonetically. So if I mispronounce a name, don't be like, you moron, you don't know how to read. Like, I'm just reading it phonetically. So whenever I screw something up, it's not because I'm stupid. I'm just not, I guess, worldly enough to pronounce a lot of these names. And I don't watch any kind of news on TV. So I don't hear other people pronounce them ever. So just wanted to let y'all know. Let's move on. Sorry, because we do have some fun stuff that I want to cover. And I was gonna cover this one last, but I'm gonna talk about it now because this is the most hilarious story I've ever covered in over 21 years working in progressive media. This is my favorite story ever. A lawyer with Donald Trump's Department of Justice in Minneapolis actually begged a judge this week to hold her in contempt so that she could finally get some sleep at night to ease her guilty conscience. So here's what happened. This DOJ lawyer in a courtroom in Minnesota. The judge is asking questions. The DOJ lawyer is Julie Lee. So the judge is talking with Lee and is like, hey, how can you defend what is happening here? You've given us no reason for ICE to be in Minnesota. What are you even doing? Basically is what U.S. District Judge Jerry Blackwell asked Julie Lee. Like, what are you even doing? And Julie Lee replied that the system sucks. This job sucks. That's a direct quote from her. The system sucks. This job sucks. And then she went on to ask Judge Blackwell to hold her in contempt of court just so she could get 24 hours of sleep after having to argue dozens upon dozens of habeas cases in recent weeks. But I really think the reason is to ease her guilty conscience. Hold me in contempt. Hold me accountable. For the love of God, punish me because of what I'm having to do here. This job sucks. Legal experts and analysts, of course, immediately got on social media to all express the same sentiment, which is we've never seen anything like this at all, ever. Most of them covering legal issues here in the United States for decades. They have been reporters present in courtrooms. They have never seen a lawyer go up to a judge and be like, you know what? Fuck this job. Hold me in contempt so I can get some damn sleep, man. Just get me the hell out of here. Like, let's go. I don't even want to be here anymore. Absolutely amazing. Julie Lee, I have some advice for you. The system sucks. This job sucks. I bet it does. But let me tell you something. You're a lawyer. You went to law school. You passed the bar. You have one of the most transferable sets of skills in the United States of America. Okay? You're not bound to one employer. Okay? It's not like your profession is building a Ford Mustang and only a Ford Mustang. Because if it were, your job options would be very limited if the only thing you know how to do is build a Ford Mustang. You can only work for one place. But you're a lawyer. You can quit. You could quit right now if you hate the job so much. You could go open your own private practice. Or if you really are seeking absolution for the guilt that you're feeling, go work for a plaintiff's law firm. Start working with clients that have been injured by corporate America and nail those bastards to the wall in a courtroom and win for the plaintiffs. That'll make you feel better. Or again, if you're looking for something a little less stressful than people, go be a car accident lawyer, be a workers' comp lawyer, be an insurance lawyer, be an estate lawyer. But you could be any kind of lawyer in the United States of America. You could go anywhere in the country. Just pass the bar, start your firm, or go work for an existing firm. I don't know why you're bothering to tell the judge, like, man, this job sucks. Why am I here? Again, one of the most transferable set of skills in the United States. You are not bound to a single job. You can go start your own practice anywhere in this country, as long as you pass the bar in that state. So just a little piece of career advice for you, Julie Lee. The job sucks. You hate it. So why the hell are you still there? Or parking garage lawyer. I love that comment. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, Alina Habba's old job. Well, I don't know. Alina Habba may have to go back to her old job. Is she technically unemployed right now? Does Alina Habba have a job? Is she standing in the unemployment line? Has she updated her LinkedIn profile? As far as I know, she doesn't have an actual job anymore. And that is kind of funny. Says, I suspect she won't be there much longer. I agree. I think any lawyer, if you go into court and you tell the judge, I hate my job, hold me in contempt so I can go sleep, nobody's going to want to hire you after that. So maybe her options are limited, but she could start her own firm and, again, go be whatever kind of lawyer you want to be. It's a wide open field. There's a ton of different ones. In fact, most lawyers don't even actually practice. They work for legal services companies, document retention, document shredding. And this is 21 years of working in a law firm. I know all the little associated groups. It's a huge, huge field where you don't even have to practice law if you don't want to, and you could still make a killing doing it. I know a ton of lawyers that left like high-paying firms to go work for these other agencies where they're making so much more, which is just crazy to me, but whatever. If money's your goal, Julie, you got tons of options. Somebody says there's no spiders up here from James Robert. I don't know. where you are because I missed the first part of the comment. But anyway, let's keep going here. I know we're pushing up now closer to 10 a.m. and some of y'all got other streams you want to go watch, I guess. If that's your thing, sure. But a couple more stories. Donald Trump and his theft, we'll call it, of the voting records, rolls, and whatever else from Fulton County, Georgia, may already be dead on arrival. Because if this administration thinks that they're going to be able to go in there and start prosecuting a bunch of people for whatever it is they fabricate with that information back at the FBI headquarters, they'd better think again, according to legal experts. Because it has been revealed that, I don't know if it was right before the raid or after the raid, maybe even during the raid, but it turns out that Tulsi Gabbard, in order to give her little, troops a pep talk, she decided to phone up Donald Trump on her cell phone. And Trump didn't answer. But then he did call her back a couple minutes later and she puts it on speakerphone. So Trump gives this little pep talk to these agents, these investigators is what they are, about the important work they're doing in Georgia to, of course, show that the 2020 election was in fact stolen. And that phone call, that perfect phone call, to use Trump's own words, could destroy every single potential prosecution that this administration might bring against anyone involved. Let me read you this. This is from the New York Times. What occurred during the meeting was even further outside the bounds of normal law enforcement procedure. Ms. Gabbard used her cell phone to call Mr. Trump, who did not initially pick up, but called back shortly after, the People said. The president addressed the agents on speakerphone, asking them questions as well as praising and thanking them for their work on the inquiry, according to 3 people with knowledge of the discussion. Even for a president who has radically transformed the tools for personal retribution, Mr. Trump appears to be taking that kind of involvement to a new level. Rather than going to senior department or FBI officials, Mr. Trump spoke directly to the frontline agents doing the granular work of a politically sensitive investigation in which he has a large personal stake. By speaking directly with the investigators, the president may have provided significant ammunition to any future defense should the investigation yield criminal charges. Any defendant who might potentially be charged in the case, and Trump said on January 21st he's planning on it, would likely present his phone call to FBI agents as evidence of vindictive prosecution, and defense lawyers would probably call for the agents and even Trump himself to testify at trial. As per usual, Trump's biggest enemy on planet Earth is the guy that stares back at him in the mirror every day. So dumb, so arrogant and narcissistic that he screws himself over every chance that he gets. There is not much that I like about Donald Trump. In fact, there is only one thing I do like about him. And it is that he is so dumb that he can't fully be the authoritarian leader that he wants to be. If he had a shred of intelligence, if he had a shred of self-control, this country would be absolutely just done for. But the stupidity combined with the narcissism makes him shoot himself in the foot every single time. I saw a super chat come through that I want to address. This is from Fabricio HQ. Says, hey, Farron, I just wanted to ask what you thought about Catherine O'Hara as an actor. Once we lost her, this loss hits hard because we saw her in Home Alone. R.I.P. Catherine. I mean, obviously, I've seen her in Home Alone. I've seen her in Beetlejuice. I saw Best in Show one time. I think she was in that. Honestly, I mean, it's very sad. I think she was good in the few things I saw her in, but I don't know enough about her. I wasn't like, oh, it's a Catherine O'Hara film, I got to go watch it. So it's always sad. You know, she was very young still. Um, but, you know, in terms of, am I devastated by it? It doesn't really, it's not something I have thought about since that day. And no disrespect to her, no disrespect to her family. I know obviously they're going through a lot. It's just, you know, it's not that impactful to me personally as an individual. Um, Free Expression Warrior says Thune is trying to pass through the SAVE Act by ending the filibuster. How does Mango still have that power? Because the Republicans are cowards, and 21 Democrats in the House are also cowards. He has enough support to help him limp along for now. That could change as we really get into the heart of, you know, the midterms and the primaries and all of that. But for right now, he's got enough people willing to protect him in Congress, House and Senate, and they're going to let him do what he wants to do. Last one here, because we're going to leave on a positive note. There are good things happening in this country, folks. I swear to you, few and far between, but there are good things. Former Trump official Miles Taylor, who I'm sure everybody remembers, he was the one who, during the first Trump administration, pinned that anonymous op-ed in the New York Times. But Miles Taylor wrote this week that a group of U.S. prosecutors from all over the country are flying into Washington, D.C. I think at this point they're already there to have a meeting with each other. Now, this is not a meeting of government officials with government officials. It's just a meeting of these prosecutors in one central location. And the goal of these prosecutors is to find a way to hold this administration accountable, specifically for what they are doing with ICE. Let me read you this from what Taylor wrote. Local prosecutors from across the U.S. are flying to Washington, D.C. for an emergency meeting about a simple idea that shouldn't be controversial. No federal agent is above the law. Yet the Trump administration will undoubtedly be furious to know the gathering is taking place, as the organizers are readying efforts to hold its agents accountable for misconduct. One of the officials who spoke to Taylor about the meeting said this: "When you see local prosecutors having to take on federal agents, you know we're in uncharted territory. This is a consequence of the administration's abuses of power." Now, does this mean that we are about to see prosecutions of these ICE agents? Nope. Does it mean we will ever see prosecutions of these ICE agents? No, it doesn't. These agents, as actors of the federal government, do have a high level of protection. That part of it is what these prosecutors are meeting to discuss. How do we get over that? How do we get around it? How do we get rid of it? Maybe. Until they figure that out, we can't even move on to phase 2, which is criminal investigations. And then hopefully criminal charges and then criminal trial. This is the first step of what is surely going to be an exceptionally long process. But you can't start if you don't take that first step. And that is why this is a positive story. They're doing something. At the very least, they're talking about, can we even do something? And we don't see enough of that from people with power, right? We're seeing it from the people themselves, the public, right? But we can't rewrite the law overnight. We can't prosecute these people. So to see these steps starting to happen, to see the people that are in a position to where, hey, you know what? Maybe I can do something. I'm going to do it. And I'm going to call up the other people that might be able to do it. That is definitely a positive sign for the United States. It's a sign that maybe this country isn't as lost as we think it might be. So let's hope that this strategy meeting bears fruit. But even if it does, it will be a very long process. So please be patient. Couple super chats here. First one is from Lynn T. Jern. Says, slowly but surely, good things are happening. Makes me feel some hope. Thank you, Farron, for all you do. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And it is nice to leave or it kind of end the stream on a positive story. It's not something we get to do frequently, so take advantage of it while we got it. Scorpio says, as a non-American, I have wondered, is qualified immunity a law, a court ruling, or just a policy that no one will ignore? It's policy. But not like, oh, this is the official policy. It's basically just everybody agreeing that, yeah, okay, this. There may be some states, obviously, that do have laws on the books that do provide a level of immunity. But for the most part, it is just this kind of understanding that, like, yeah, we don't go after the cops because of the qualified immunity thing. But really not written in stone anywhere. And I think that's probably a good place for these prosecutors to start, is to realize that, wait a minute, that's not actually a thing. It's a thing because years ago somebody said it was. So let's just go forward. All right, folks, if you're not already subscribed, please subscribe. Got tons of great content still coming up throughout the rest of the day. Please stick around for that. Follow me across social media, Instagram, Facebook, Threads, and Blue Sky at Farron Balanced. Thank you all so much for tuning in today. Thank you all so much for the super chats. I appreciate all of it, and I will see you all again tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Eastern.